What happens when you start to heal from trauma? What happens when you stop doing those activities, behaviors, or even taking those drugs or medicines that help numb your body to the emotional pain or even physical pain from past trauma? You should know that when you start to heal, when you start to do the work, when you start to come off of those substances or drugs, that you will start to feel things. And you need to be prepared for that so that you know how to navigate that. If you're not prepared for it, then it starts to feel unmanageable and you will go right back to your old way of coping with those things, and that's how you'll get stuck. So let's talk about trauma, the freeze response, and what your body will be doing as it comes out of this chronic freeze state. So let's review trauma. Anything that was traumatizing, just by definition, overwhelmed your nervous system, your brain, your body's ability to cope with that in the moment. So given all of your resources at the moment, given your physical strength, given your knowledge, given your ability to respond quickly to things, all of the resources available to you, both the internal resources and external resources, what tools do I actually have? All of those resources kind of determine whether a situation will become overwhelming or not. When a situation becomes overwhelming, so it crosses that threshold from being just stressful and it actually becomes overwhelming, then that's when we experience trauma and can have long-lasting effects on our minds, on our bodies, our health, our psychology, our mood. And so we need to look at that overwhelming piece and what it's doing. When we become overwhelmed, our body actually shuts down. And so this is that freeze response that we talk about, where you're no longer in fight or flight. You're no longer actively figuring out, how can I escape this? When something turns from stressful to overwhelming, your body shuts down. It needs time to sort things out. It needs space. It needs some distance from whatever's going on to even be able to think clearly. And so that overwhelm is, in scientific terms, the freeze response. And there actually is this big disconnect that happens in the freeze response between our minds, our bodies. We're no longer really emotionally, mentally present, even though we're physically present. We find our minds wandering a lot, and even if we're interacting and talking with others, we may not actually feel like we're all the way there. We can feel like we're in a daze. We can feel like we're kind of just having brain fog, where things are just a little cloudy, a little fuzzy. And we are not as aware of our body sensations as when we are fully engaged in life and are mentally, emotionally, our nervous systems are well balanced. There isn't that disconnect in those situations. But as a person starts to heal and reconnect their mind and their body and actually start to be more in their body, noticing their symptoms, noticing what their body feels like when they are angry, when they are scared, afraid, sad, grieving. Once they actually start allowing themselves to feel those emotions, things will start to happen. Once a person stops taking medications that numb those feelings through numbing the nervous system, things will start to happen and big shifts will start to happen. And if you're not prepared for that, that in itself can become overwhelming. When we have had past trauma and we're starting to now heal ourselves, that overwhelm from before comes back. And so it's not that we get to heal ourselves and it's this walk in the park with all roses and it's just grand and why didn't we do this before? All of that overwhelm that put us into the freeze, that put us into shutdown mode, is now going to come back. And so we're going to start feeling things. And a lot of patients will tell me something similar to the fact of, like, help, I'm having feelings now, and I'm actually feeling them more. I'm feeling more intensely these emotional states of sadness, of being scared, even of happiness. Like I'm actually feeling these more intensely than before, because before everything's a little numbed when we're in the freeze state. And so as we heal ourselves and either do the therapy work, do the parts work, do the somatic work, and then we're also stopping those behaviors that we have used in the past to numb and to cope, we will start to feel things and feel those old emotions. This is a time to expect it, to welcome it, to not be afraid of those feelings anymore, because obviously that situation has passed. And so even though we still have the intensity of the emotion, we can help ourselves by kind of calming that part of ourselves down and showing that we're no longer in that specific situation. But all in all, as we're healing ourselves from trauma, as we're coming off of behaviors, addictions, substances, medications that have helped us numb those emotions or physical pain, all of that will come back and be more intense at first than what it will be later on. So just hang in there. Know that you're not alone. Know that this is normal. And this will reach a balance. It's just kind of, it's a big mess when it first starts to be reconnected. That's all. And with time, that mess will become more organized and systematic, and we can clean up the mess. In the meantime, we just kind of allow the mess to be there and not go back to those old ways just because we're having these emotions again. I'm Dr. Aimie, and I'm here trying to give you all the information you need to heal yourself or heal your child from a history of trauma, and especially attachment trauma. I welcome any comments and look forward to hearing from you.